Welcome to the Honest Dog Breeder Podcast with me, your host, Julie Swan, where each week we dive in to discuss all things dog breeding so you can build a breeding business you love, producing dogs that fulfill their owners' dreams. I believe you can have an honest dog breeding program that also pays the bills. So throw those pods in your ears while you're cleaning kennels. I'd love to join you. Hi guys, you are definitely in for a treat today. We have Lara of Lara Marek Coaching. She is brilliant. And today we're going to talk about one of the tools inside her coaching toolbox, which is hypnosis, and how hypnosis can be a game changer to really move the needle just in mindset and overall performance. Lara, thank you so much for coming today. Can you tell us
Thank you.
can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about how you got started and where your coaching program focuses on?
Thank you, Julie. So as you already said, I'm a coach and a certified hypnotist. And before we kind of dive into the content, I believe it's also kind of interesting, maybe for the listeners, that I'm also a mom of two children, and I have a bunch of fur babies. They are cats, not dogs, but still, I'm an absolute animal lover, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. You have such juicy stuff. All right. Okay, so the big question, hypnotism, right? So everybody just thinks of the ball dangling in front, ooh, but that's really not what it is it?
No, it isn't. I mean, there are two parts of hypnosis, or two different genes, kind of. So one is the show hypnosis, and that's what you just referred to. It's made for the stages, but that's not what I consider to be the really powerful hypnosis piece I'm using in my coaching business. And if you use hypnosis as a therapeutical tool, it is so profound and so allowing for deep and long-lasting transformation, leading to success and success and happiness in life.
Which is everybody wants that.
Right?
Can you kind of explain a little bit of the science and what is happening in hypnosis so we can kind of understand what it is? Because, it's scary because we're like, well, we're not really present. And are you just going to make us dance like a chicken? And of course you're not. But
Yeah, so that's one of the misperception about hypnosis. So in fact, your body is deeply relaxed. So with hypnosis, we are actually slowing down the brain waves, going into a deep relaxation while you're fully conscious. So you're fully focused with your mind, and still in the present moment. So it's not at all, that you are kind of a headless chicken, doing things you would never do in kind of your normal life.
sure. So you're
Um,
still aware of the process going on, but just
Definitely.
in a
And you,
slightly different state. Yes.
yes, and you can always stop it. If you feel like this is not going into the direction you'd like to, you're always in the position to stop because you're in control.
That's great. That's great. So what does hypnosis do? Why would somebody even get hypnosis?
So, what makes hypnosis the easiest, most gentle, and at the same time most powerful tool on earth is that with hypnosis, you can actually bypass your barrier that is put by your conscious awareness. And I mean, I'm going to ask all the listeners here, what do you think? How much part of your brain is your conscious mind? Which, how much percentage is it taking over of your brain, and which percentage is run by your subconscious mind? Not sure if you, Julie, would like to give an answer or if I should reveal.
I remember you telling me, but yes, it's well, you think you're conscious all day doing stuff. And so you would think you have all this control, and like 90 something percent of the day you'd be in control. But that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, in fact, it's the other way around. So between 90 and 95% of the daily actions and decisions you take are run by your subconscious mind without you even realizing it. Isn't that crazy?
It's kind of scary. Yeah. I remember reading a statistic that says the conscious brain can manage about 40 different things at once, and the subconscious brain can manage like 40 million, which is ridiculous. But it makes it kind of scary because you think, okay, well, how am I supposed to change what I'm doing if all I have control of is this tiny little percentage of what I do?
Exactly. And
Mhm.
that's why I found hypnosis to be the most powerful tool to bypass that barrier put in place by the conscious mind and actually directly address the 90 to 95% of your subconscious mind and to reframe it so that you can introduce the healthier habits you always wanted, and all the success and happiness in your life because you get to erase what is blocking you from your subconscious mind.
Yeah, it's almost like it opens the door to those things. And can you kind of explain like what are why do we even have those things? Why does it even work this way? I mean, if there's something about myself that I don't like, why can't I just change it so easily?
So majority of things that are stored in our subconscious mind have actually been built in our childhood. So studies have kind of shown that in the first 7 years of your life, you're like a sponge, picking up all the things around you without questioning them much because you're just not in a position, right? And very often we do not understand everything that goes around us. So as children, we make interpretation and assumptions about, our life and our environment. And very often those are not even true, right? It's just a perception. However, all of this is stored in your subconscious mind, and um, it's kind of leading to beliefs about life in general and your situation, that are hindering you in your adulthood to move forward and to be happy and to have the success you always dreamed of, um, and that's what we call then the limiting beliefs.
That makes sense. And so maybe some examples would be um, like I think we have like that fear of success. You hear that all the time, and people are like, "I'm not afraid of success," but they really don't act that way. So could you give like an example on that one?
Yeah, definitely. So fear of success is a very tricky one, right? Because our conscious mind is kind of cannot really grasp it. Why should I have fear of success? However, our subconscious mind learned probably in our childhood or somewhere else, with the experience we made in life, that if we have success, it puts us to a place of the unknown. So some people get into then is, if I have success, what do I do with the taxes, for example? How do I pay them? How do I sort that out? Or if I have success, what will others think of me? How will my family perceive me if I am rich, if I have, ton of money because of my success? And all of that is leading subconsciously, that's perceived as a fear. And that's why our subconscious mind is actually blocking us from having the success we are consciously dreaming of.
Oh, no, I think that makes sense. In my own experience, I found I thought it was crap for a long time. I thought I don't have a fear of success, but I thought it would take time away from my family. And so I really wrestled with that idea that if I take on more business, more clients, sell more dogs, then I'm taking that time away from my kids. I'll just be crazy busy and never sleep and only do dogs and oh my gosh. And it took a long time to really work with that, especially because it wasn't a conscious process, right? I didn't
Mhm.
know that that's what was at play. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's,
that's a classical kind of problem the clients I work with face. Yeah.
yeah. Do you see, would you see it in thinking of our puppy buyers too, that they think they can't handle things or, they could have a perception probably that a task is more difficult?
I would assume that dog breeders are not different than anyone else, right? I'm pretty sure most of them deal with fears and limiting beliefs
Mhm.
that prevent them subconsciously from having the success with their breeds and with selling their puppies and having the loving buyers they always dreamed of for their puppies. Um, so yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think we all struggle there. I know the market's been particularly hard recently, so a lot of breeders are in that headspace where they're like, "Oh my gosh, nobody's ever going to buy my dogs." Or why would they buy my dogs when they could buy them from this person who's been doing it longer or who has more options or who has a different color and it is difficult. So if someone's in that mindset, how could hypnosis help?
So the process I apply with my clients is that first of all, in the conversation, in the one-to-one conversation we are having, we are digging into the underlying root cause for the limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
And those vary a lot. However, ultimately, most people want to feel loved, they want to feel safe, they want to feel worthy. And but it's a process, what exactly is it to kind of then in the second step reframe the limiting beliefs into positive ones.
Mhm.
And then as part of the hypnosis, we incorporate those positive reframes to reprogram then the subconscious mind, because with hypnosis we are going so deep that we can, as said, bypass the conscious mind and directly, I call it rewire the subconscious mind with that positive beliefs then.
That makes sense. So you're resetting. So I guess what happens when you have a limiting belief story? Like how does that take hypnosis out of it for a second, but how does that affect your behavior?
So the subconscious mind is preventing us under all circumstances to do something against our subconscious beliefs. So no matter how hard we try consciously, we will only succeed once our subconscious really believes this is kind of true or this is going to be a success.
And you're saying, so really in a way, the beliefs are like a set of rules that our subconscious makes true. So
Yeah.
it will actually subconsciously bend our actions to do that. So for example, if I have a fear of success and I don't think, I think it'll take time away from my kids, then I might not respond as quickly as I should to leads, or I might not take the time to put that on my website, or I might not take the time to ask. And so I'll find my subconscious will more or less persuade me to take actions otherwise. And that's kind of the idea.
Exactly. So procrastination is one of the classical tactics of our subconscious mind
Yeah.
to not do what would lead to success.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's crazy. Can you think of any other examples that might help us put this together too? Because I feel like there's going to be people thinking, well, I have control of my actions. Does it present ideas? Like, does it logically talk to us and talk us out of things?
So every time you have a thought or saying even out loud, I can't, you know, some negative sentence,
Mhm.
that's kind of that's where I would look into very closely and ask yourself, is it really true? And why is it true?
And so you might say, like, I can't do social media.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and so then your subconscious, because it believes that, will make it true. So it will make it very awkward or annoying to learn the process or and
You
so
will feel overwhelmed and, having a hard time. And every time you look into kind of learning social media, you think, oh, why should I do that? I'm too old. I can't learn it anymore. It doesn't make sense. It will not help me anyway. My buyers will not, benefit from me being on social media. Um, yeah, so that's all the,
so that whole weight will just get thrown on you and just
yeah.
that crash on your shoulders. That makes so much sense. And so So when we have those feelings of that word, I can't, if we say that, or if we start to feel really overwhelmed, do you use that when you're working with clients to sort of start there and just, okay. And so then
Yes,
you would ask where that comes from,
yes,
or
yes.
why do you think you can't learn that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then we figure it out. All right, so let's go with the limiting belief of the the fear of success, for example, or nobody's gonna buy my dogs, right? We can do that one. Or, ooh, should we go for the you can't make money breeding dogs?
Yeah, I think that's the most classical limiting belief someone can have, and it's also one of the hardest one to ditch because there could be so many underlying root causes that it really requires work to to get to the bottom of them.
Mhm.
And I would say it's probably also the one where it makes the most sense to have a coach or a hypnotist at your side to kind of help you go through that process and uncover the blind spots. We have been carrying the limiting beliefs for majority of our life. So if you're, let's say, in our 40s, it has
Mhm.
been 40 something years, right? So it's that's why it's so hard to even recognize beliefs as being limiting beliefs.
They're so foundational to who you are.
They are.
They're
Yeah,
almost like I'm 5'3", like I will just be I can't do that because I'm too short. Like it's something I can't change about myself, but you're saying these beliefs are that true that you'll be this height forever.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. All right, so if we say you can't make money breeding dogs, that's this belief, then it seems like so I do notice this when I'm talking to breeders, especially as coaching clients. They'll come in and they'll say, I can't make money doing this. And, I'll be looking at their situation and they're selling twice as many dogs as me a year and their price is twice as much as mine. And it's like, well, no, you can. You definitely can. And so a lot of times I'm finding that I'm logically explaining to them, like, we need to find where the extra costs are. But what you're saying is from a hypnotism perspective, you're going through and you're saying, okay, what belief is that? And where can we get to the bottom of it? So maybe if you were digging through it with somebody, you might find that they think every single puppy has to go to the vet 4 times before they go home. So they have this belief that that's what's required, or they have this belief that they have to spend 6 hours a day working with their dogs. And so they might have this whole image of what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so when you break that down, are you helping them understand there's an alternative way, or are you mostly just getting to the story?
So I'm mostly diving into the here and now story. I usually don't look into why the story was created. Um, and but what I do is I help them to reframe it and to see, what is it really that is preventing you from actually making money with your dogs? Is it a scarcity mindset? Is it a lack of self-trust? Is it a general misconceptions about breeding in society that lead you to the point that you have to spend all the money and invest it in your dog's health and food and education that at the end nothing is left for you? Um, and here I believe it's very important that if you face that limiting belief, that you understand that um, as a responsible breeder, you can focus on health and proper care, and you can still be profitable. So, and that's kind of that would already then be the first part of the reframe,
That makes
to
sense.
just help our subconscious mind
Mhm.
believe this to be true, that actually there can be a financial benefit out of the dog breeding business.
Mhm. And that makes sense because I do find a lot of people are holding themselves back in that area. They just don't. They're they're worried it makes them a bad person at the end of the day if they don't spend all their money back on the dogs or on their
Yeah.
facilities. And the interesting thing is that very few breeders pay themselves to the tune of what their time invested in the business is worth. And you would never be able to get an employee like yourself and not pay them.
Which is a limiting belief as well, right? I mean, why isn't there someone that can do the job as good as you could, which would then free up your mind and your space and give you back energy to actually look into, for example, the social media part and the marketing topic and all of that,
Right,
right?
right. And so that's, oh, good, you called me out on it. So that makes sense, right? So we can start to break those pieces down and see what it would look like. Okay, so then in the next step, right? So we've kind of figured out these beliefs and where maybe they stem from. Then what would come next in a process working with a hypnotist?
Yeah, so it's together we'll reframe them. We see, usually I pick that write that negative limiting belief we figure to be kind of the bottom of it,
Mhm.
and frame it in a positive way and what you would like to believe is true, but
Okay,
you do not yet believe subconsciously. So that's kind of the second step.
sure. I okay, so if we took that example and we say that we have um you can't make money breeding dogs. All right. So then we backwards plan that, or we kind of talk through it and we say, okay, the core of this is that um I feel guilty spending that money on myself when, with my dogs. Like I should always spend more money on my dogs. And so you might go through and frame, okay, so what would make you feel good about the dogs? Well, making sure they have a high quality dog food, making sure they have shelter and water and a comfortable place, and they're getting their enrichment, they're getting activities. Okay, so if that makes me happy with my breeders, then that costs X amount of dollars. So now I can say, okay, well, there's a certain amount left over, and then I can take that and take care of myself in return for the work I've invested in the business. And so is that kind of the idea? You'd be reframing it that way?
So I'll do it much simpler.
Okay.
It's so I like to take very short sentences like I focus on health and proper care of my puppies, and I can or I will be having a profit by the end. Um, there will be a profit left at the end of the process
So these
for
would
when selling them.
be the rephrase. Is this the affirmations you were telling me about?
Yeah.
Or is it separate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
So,
it's the same reframe, is the same as affirmations.
okay. And so then what happens then I mean, because if I just say I take care of my puppies, does that work?
Well, but then I would ask you, how does care look for you? Is it good care? Is it excellent care? What does care mean? Is it healthy food? Is it, seeing the vet as per schedule? Um, all of that. And we would then specify it to a level that actually will have a positive impact for your future life. So it's not enough to just say, I'm a good dog breeder.
Yeah, like it's actually what feels really good to you.
Yeah, yes.
And then you take that. And then so then with the affirmations, is this getting ready for hypnosis?
So we are usually defining a set of 6 to 10 new beliefs, reframed beliefs, and then during the hypnosis, I'll incorporate them at several points so that they really start to do their work in your subconscious mind.
Okay. And so is then the theory is that once we have this new belief that's been programmed in overriding the old one, does that so our subconscious will start to make it true. Is that the idea? So without
Absolutely.
actually doing work, our subconscious is finding opportunities. So for example, the one that comes to mind because I deal with numbers so much is, you think that vet care costs 500 for this. Well, you might think, oh man, there's other vets in the area. Let me just call around. And so your subconscious will have the thought to call around and find a different price, or maybe if it's worth driving, or maybe if you can do whatever. And so you'll start to think of other ways to save money to have the same quality
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
in a way that your brain wouldn't let you do that before.
Yes. Yeah, it's to me, I apply hypnosis for quite a while now, myself, and it sometimes feels like a magic wand.
like you're cheating.
Yeah. Um, but of course, I mean, it's not. In fact, it also requires some work and dedication because you have to. Your subconscious mind is not convinced for the most part with just one session.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's not
Yeah,
just a one-hit wonder, is it?
no.
So,
Well, but just for very few topics.
oh, okay. Do
Um,
you have an example
yeah.
of something like that that was quick or for one of your clients?
Yeah, so you usually smoking cessation
Mhm.
related topics are for the most part fixable with just one session.
Really?
And then sometimes, but it depends a bit on the underlying root cause, weight challenges can also be addressed within one session.
You said weight,
Yeah,
like overeating, like you love cookies
yeah,
too much, and okay, I'll have to
yes.
call you about that one. So what do you find is some of the limiting beliefs for those? Why are those so quick and easy?
So let's go with the smoking because I believe that's easier to explain. So for the most part, it's just a habit. It's just a habit, and also the overeating piece. And habits can be rewired more quickly because they're usually not, not for your entire life, like your limiting beliefs. So it makes
Okay.
them easier to be
Mhm.
rewired um, than many of the other limiting beliefs.
Okay, so even something as simple as making your bed in the morning, if you don't make your bed every morning, you might have a story that you're not a clean person. And so you could just rewrite that. And that's a quicker one because it's just a quick, that's not a story about self-worth or something deeper. That makes sense.
Exactly.
There's less
Yes.
layers to that story.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
gosh. Isn't that the pain too when you're working on your stories and then you're like, oh wow, I thought that was the story. Nope, there's a story underneath that. And it just keeps going.
It's like peeling onions, and it's
Yeah.
so uncomfortable. That's why most people actually never take that route. I mean, they prefer to stay in their victim mentality
Mm,
and complaining their entire life, feeling bad and unhappy,
mhm.
um, because that's all they know. That's their familiar, instead of just taking the leap and increasing their comfort zone.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. I was a little awkward in high school and as a kid, I was a little special. And it was funny this past weekend we went home for a family reunion and I being back in my home I grew up in, a lot of things came back. I almost felt like that person again in some places and I was like, wow, that was creepy. And I think we are kind of programmed and I think our environment plays into that a lot, but we're programmed to be a certain way and we just fall right back into that groove and I that happens consciously or subconsciously as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the stories others have told about you, and you started to believe them at one point. That's why it is so easy to fall back into, th those stories when you are, as you said, back in your childhood environment, for example.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's crazy. Okay, so let's go back and see this process because I think a lot of people are kind of like, this sounds cool, but how does the process work? Because I don't like to go into somewhere where I don't know what to expect, I'm kind of get nervous about that stuff. So
This
we
is also a protection mechanism, by the way, from your subconscious mind to make you feel uncomfortable about unknown situations.
there you go. It's for your safety, Julie.
Yes.
Um, Oh man, this is terrible. Tearing me up online. Okay, so we have so we go in. All right, so we say, okay, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I've tried a million things. I cannot seem to get traction. So they might call you up and say, Laura, how am I gonna fix this stuff? And you would say, okay, cool, what's broken? Right? And you're gonna be listening in for those keywords like I can't do this or I can't do that and you're going to flag them and then you're going to talk about them and try to get to the bottom of that story and figure out what belief they have, right?
Yes.
And I could see like with smoking, I don't think many smokers are like I do this for my health. So I think there's not a lot of stories that are protecting you in the way that say a fear of success. I feel like those stories they were meant to protect us, but
Absolutely.
they
Yeah,
don't serve us anymore. And
right.
so that part sucks. And then we have so we have to rewrite that. So you help them get to the bottom of where the story came from and maybe how it served them back then, but now it's hurting them now. So then you say, okay, what would you like to believe instead? I
Yes.
sell all my puppies by the time they're 6 weeks old and everybody loves them. There you go. Okay, great. So that's the new story. So our new affirmation. So then now you have that and you're going to help incorporate that in the hypnosis session.
Hmm.
All right, cool. So we would do a hypnosis session. You're going to bring them down into that state of mind. You're going to help open the door to the subconscious. You're going to be reprogram those stories. And then you said it takes sometimes longer, like it's not just one and done. So what happens next?
So what I found bringing the most transformation and the most level of success for my clients is actually doing a package of 5 sessions,
Mhm,
each with a break of 2 to 3 weeks in between.
mhm.
Um, and to accelerate your transformation, you'll get some homework from me as well.
Oh, yeah. All right. And so what might the homework be?
Well, it's about it always depends a bit on the client, but for sure there's always re-listening to the hypnosis audio on a daily basis. That's really, really important to just remind your subconscious mind on a daily basis about your new um, reframed positive beliefs
And so you re-listen to that audio each day. And is it
daily.
like what,
Yeah.
15 minutes or is it longer or?
It depends a lot on the topic we would work on. So usually it's around about 30 minutes, but it can be a bit
Okay.
longer or a bit shorter. Yeah.
So you would listen to that tape for about 30 minutes a day and then do that every day for the 2 to 3 weeks. And then what happens at the next session?
So there's again, it depends really on the topic we are working on, but the process is always the same. So we start with, looking into your limiting beliefs. In the second session, I would obviously ask, how has your week been? Um, and then is there anything else that came up? Where did you struggle? I can already tell, if people are procrastinating listening to the hypnosis audio, I know I need to dig deeper and I need to dig into, what is the story behind it? What is blocking them actually from the transformation they're actually looking for? And then we, um, look again into the reframed beliefs and we assess if they're still valid, if we need new ones, if we need different ones, and then we are again going through the hypnosis. And if we would go for a
Mhm.
set of five package, there's each time we meet, there's a different theme and definitely different hypnosis audio so that we can address the different parts of your subconscious mind and just make the transformation as easy and at the same time as powerful as possible.
That's nice. So in some people, you're gonna work with them and then they're gonna be struggling either to listen to it or they're gonna be getting some results, one or the other. So if something's not working, or they're doing the the guided meditation every day and they're getting results, but it's not quite what they want, you would tweak it in the next
We will
session.
tweak it. Yes.
Or they might want to address something else. So maybe they came in because they were having a problem. They said, oh, I'm not a morning person. I can't get up and do work in the morning. And so you might help them with that. And then that's fine. Now they say, oh, I'm not a person who works out. So now you might help them get to a place where they could incorporate exercise on the regular.
We could totally do that. However, my recommendation is, so usually what I find with my clients, they come in with their perceived problem on, let's say, I can't sell my puppies.
Yeah.
And then we start with the process, but usually I really have to tweak from week to week until we really get to that new version of them they are dreaming of. So it's really, as discussed before, it's kind of like peeling the onions. We
Yeah.
cannot get right to the, to the core of it for the most part,
Hmm.
because those stories are so old and so ingrained. It just doesn't work that way.
That makes sense. So as you're doing that first session, how are people going to know there's more to the story? How do you know?
So that's part of it will reveal itself as part of the process.
Okay, so it's hard to articulate, but it is obvious at that point.
It gets from week to week, it gets more obvious about, what is it really,
Mhm.
and how to kind of, and then we tweak the beliefs, and that will actually then lead us to, um, yeah, to, I don't like to say fix it, but to um, to tweak it the way we, or the client,
Yeah,
imagines their life to be.
that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm thinking that, you could go in and say nobody wants my puppies, but you might find that, like, I've noticed a couple people are afraid to post their price online, and then they get their price, or then they'll drop it on the phone. Like, so the
Yeah.
people contacted them off the website with the price. They didn't ask about the price, but then the breeder will drop the price in the phone call. So that might be an example where you would say, "Hey, well, why did you do that?"
Yeah. So my question would be, do we have kind of a topic around self-confidence, self-worth? Because usually, of course, there's always a certain strategy that works better than other strategies, um, especially when it comes to sales topics, right? So I'm not a specialist on that topic, but I would definitely ask, why did you just drop the price? Do you feel uncomfortable? Why do you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel like you're charging too much?
Right.
Do you feel like your dog is, are you scared your dog is not kind of healthy enough, pretty enough to ask for that price?
Right.
And that's what we would work on. But of course, all the strategies
Mhm.
are an important piece for success as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So you would kind of break down where that is. And so I think you could also get to a place, does this play into it at all? Where a breeder might do that game with the pricing on the phone, and where they drop the price from their website, and then um they're worried they'll lose the sale. But more so, I think sometimes they don't feel like they're doing as much work as they know they could. Like, they know what perfect could be, but they're not able to do that perfect plan. Like, oh, well, I didn't do all the socialization I want, so I don't feel like I can charge full price, or I just didn't like the way that one's ears were, so I just don't feel like and it's like the buyers don't care. The dog is worth the money, but now it looks terrible that you've made it seem like this dog isn't worth as much as your normal dogs. So yeah. So do you dive into that with them as well? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So perfection is one of the most common limiting beliefs, um, I see with my clients.
Oh, like just to
And
be perfect.
actually,
Yeah.
perfection always is a failure. It keeps you stuck where you are. 70% perfection is good enough. You don't need to reach the 100% because you will
70%.
anyway never reach that point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who's 100% perfect? No one. And do you like people who are 100% perfect? No.
You certainly don't want to be married to one.
No. So it's perfection is actually an illusion. And as a matter of fact, people can, although it's just over phone, people can hear the insecurity you're having with a particular dog, and by dropping the price, you're making assumptions, and you don't know about, are the assumptions. There are assumptions, so the likelihood that they are actually true are
Mhm.
really small. And
Yeah.
what I came to learn is that might be a bit woo-woo, but usually if we lose a sale, there's a better buyer, a more loving buyer that will be kind of the perfect fit for that dog. So there's a reason why someone didn't want to buy it for, the price maybe we are asking for.
I kind of agree with you on that. That's been my experience. You know, you get close to a sale and then something feels a little weird. And then a week later, somebody will call about the dog and you're like, oh man, this is a perfect person. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of agree. And we can call that woo woo, but I think it's just, it's
Yeah,
magic.
but it takes self-trust and faith to and persistence as well
Mhm.
to take that leap, um, yeah, and persist the kind of the unknown, because I can imagine that some breeders might think better to make the sale for a lower price than not selling the puppy at all. But they're leaving out that kind of that perfect match, that potential perfect match for the
Yeah,
dog.
I think so. And I know like if a dog does have a defect, you know, if we had a three-legged dog or I had a one-eyed dog last year,
Mhm.
then yes, I understand reducing the price. But I think when we are worried we just won't sell the dogs and there's nothing wrong with the dog, that I do see that as a big red flag that you should really focus on getting your price. And um it is interesting. I did notice last year I was so nervous. I had dropped off on the planet. I was doing so much with my podcast that I hadn't done anything with my breeding program for advertising. And then I had like a large set of litters. And so I was like, oh no. And I had to jump back into it. And I noticed I procrastinated myself. I was hesitating posting. I was afraid. And when I think back to it, trying to deep dive into what you would probably help me figure out had I known you back then, um, with that, I was afraid that if I posted an Instagram post and nobody engaged with it and nobody liked it, I would feel even more like a failure that they hadn't sold. And so it was just like struggling with that and just accepting that maybe three people might like it, and then that'd be okay. If one of them wanted them, even better, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end, if people like or don't like, it says nothing about you. It doesn't say anything about your dogs. And all you need is kind of one person to see your post and be the perfect match for the dog you're trying to sell.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. That's so good. That's so good. All right. So then at the end of the 5 weeks, people are millionaires and they have all the. But no, so what at the end of it though, you start to see you see the changes, right? It's a long enough time, not 5 weeks, the 5 sessions, which is probably
Yeah,
what, around.
it's 10 to 14 weeks, depending a bit
Yeah, there you
on the
go. So about
schedule. Yeah,
about 3 months or so,
yeah,
maybe a little longer. So in that time, you can start to see the results. You can start to see the changes. You can start to notice things that your subconscious is presenting to you that weren't options before, weren't an awareness before. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Uh,
exactly. And actually, science has proven that for us to incorporate new habits, our brain takes somewhere between 21 days and 200 something days. And actually, the sweet spot is at 67 days for you to incorporate, the I call it habits, but it's kind of the same as the new beliefs,
yeah.
to embody them, make it your new reality. And that's why those 5 sessions or the 10 to 15 weeks are so powerful, because we are hitting the 67 days for sure.
Yes, that makes sense. So it's plenty of time for that to like try it, stick, and all. I like that. That's
Yeah.
really good. I'm glad you're saying it's not always 21 days because when you hear that and then you don't get it done in 21 days, you just feel like you suck, you know?
Yeah, and if you do it kind of the normal way, let's say doing more sports, incorporating more sports in your daily life,
Yeah.
your subconscious mind will do everything it can to kind of let you fall off the wagon.
Oh, my leg hurts today.
Yeah, exactly. Or I feel a little sick, or today it's raining. Yeah, there are so many excuses.
That makes sense. So if you have a habit you're trying to form and it's just not working, that's a great sign that there's a limiting belief. That makes sense. Well, this is
Absolutely.
great. All
Yeah,
right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. So tell people where they can find you have an awesome freebie online they can sign up for. Can you tell
absolutely.
us what it
So
is?
for your listeners, I have an amazing free gift. So it's a mini hypnosis audio, and it's about releasing shame and guilt because I can imagine, as dog breeders, you're facing a lot of kind of shame, not feeling good enough, feeling guilty for maybe not spending enough time, money, not cleaning enough. Yeah, all of that. So I think it's an amazing audio, and you can download it through the link
Yep, and that'll
in
be in the show
the
notes.
yes, and it will be available for download at least until year end 2024, or even lower.
Perfect. That sounds great. And then people want to work with you. How can they find you?
So through that link,
Mhm.
you'll find my webpage, and you're welcome to book a free discovery call, and also to look into my webpage in general if you would like to know more about me and my background as well.
That's so awesome. Yes, we will definitely get your website linked in the show notes and have everything for people to check you out. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.